Hey, and welcome into another episode of the Fat Guy Podcast. I am the Fat Guy. Most people just call me Brett Mason, although I occasionally get called worse names, but we won't talk about that. Can you really eat anything you want and lose weight? This is something that has to be addressed because of the questions that I constantly get asked when people ask me for advice on losing weight. So, I have good news and bad news. The truth is you really can eat anything you want and lose weight. But it comes at a price. So there's good news and there's bad news. I can't wait to get into all that with you. But first, a disclaimer, I'm not a doctor. I have no formal medical training. And I'm by far the least qualified person on the planet to give you medical advice. Anything I say is purely my opinion based on my experiences. I'm just sharing my life story with you, okay? Do with that what you will. You should consult a doctor before you do anything that, could affect your health. All right? Follow us. You can follow me on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or whatever. Fat Guy Podcast is the username on all those. And I highly encourage you to follow me on Snapchat because I post everything I eat every day within reason. Sometimes I miss meals. If you want to see what a person that's lost 125 pounds eats every day, follow me on Snapchat is the way to go. Fat Guy Podcast is the username. Download the Spreaker app, Spreaker, Spreaker. It's free. That's the company I host my podcast with. The app is free. You download it, search for Fat Guy Podcast. You'll find my podcast page. You hit the follow button and the subscribe or like or whatever it's called. I think it's a heart, whatever. You'll get notifications when a new podcast comes out. You can easily scroll down and see every episode I've ever done. So if you have a question about intermittent fasting or you have a question about fast food or, anything I've ever done, you can scroll and find it and get some answers. All right. Of course, if you already use, if you already are a big podcast person and you use the podcasting app on your iPhone or whatever phone or device you have, you can search for Fat Guy Podcast and find us there because we are in Apple Podcast. Okay, so it's to the point it's humorous now, and I've talked about it in previous podcasts. But people will ask me about how to lose weight or whatever, and I'll be talking about you got to lower your carbs and need to get your protein in this area, eat this way, and it never fails. They always ask me, does that mean they can't eat something that they clearly know doesn't fit in that definition? I had somebody ask me a couple of days ago, they're like, does that mean I can't drink chocolate milk? Because, God, I love chocolate milk. I'm like, how much sugar do you just off the top of your head, how much sugar do you think is in chocolate milk? They're like, probably a lot. I'm like, and do you think that in any way matches up with what I've just described to you as being a ketogenic diet? No, but I just thought I would ask. So, there's two components. Well, there's really one primary component to losing weight and a secondary component to losing weight, and they kind of work together. But everybody knows about this calories in, calories out. That's what they've told you to lose weight for your entire life, and it hadn't worked, okay? But it is true. You do have to be in an energy deficit. And that doesn't necessarily exactly translate to calories because the way the calories are processed inside the body doesn't mean that there's a energy expenditure higher than the energy intake because of the way your body deals with it. So it's not as simple as they've made it seem all these years. But yes, you want your body to have less energy available to it so that it has to go to your energy reserves, which is the fat you've stored, and start burning that for energy. The more complex part is how do you get there? And for most people who've been overweight, and I don't know the number, 80-90% of people that are overweight, there is a metabolic issue. You have, wrecked your metabolic because of all the sugar and the standard American diet that you've eaten for decades and decades, and that's why it doesn't work right anymore. Your body's not burning fat primarily because you have high levels of insulin all the time. And so to achieve goal number one that we talked about, you need to achieve goal number two, which is the insulin thing, okay? So you got to get the insulin levels where they're low. When your insulin levels are low, that triggers fat burning. And when your insulin levels stay high, your body just ain't going to burn fat. It just didn't go. As a matter of fact, it's going to do the opposite. It's going to store fat. It'll actually take energy you've eaten, and instead of giving it to your body to burn as energy, it just goes ahead and stores it to fat. So you're getting cheated of some of the food you're eating. You can be, I've talked about this in other podcasts, but you could be eating 2,000 calories a day, but only 1,500 of those are actually getting to your cells for energy. Because of your dysregulated and messed up metabolism, your body's, maybe storing 500 of them as fat regardless, whether you need it or not. So you got to get the insulin low. So thirdly, we'll talk about, well, how do we achieve this goal, right? How do we achieve these goals? How do we keep insulin level low? Well, it's certainly not by eating American diet. So it's a what you eat thing. That's part of it. And then it's not by eating 6 times a day where you're constantly spiking your insulin like most people do. You have a breakfast that's full of carbs, and then you have some kind of Coke in the, between then and lunch, and that's nothing but carbs. And then you have lunch full of carbs, and you have some kind of candy or snack or something in the afternoon that's full of carbs, and then you have dinner that's full of carbs, and then you have a bedtime snack that's full of carbs. And you're just spiking your insulin all day long. As soon as it even thinks about that it might want to fall, you cramp something else in your mouth and you spike it up again. And so your insulin is constantly elevated. So you have a ways of controlling your insulin level, which will lead to weight loss, are what you eat and when you eat. So if you're asking me to do away with the what you eat because you want to eat pizza and you want to eat cheeseburgers and fries and these other things, if you want to make a what you eat not part of the equation, that only leaves you with one tool left, and that's the when you eat. So the question becomes can I implement a when you eat only strategy and lose weight? And the answer to that is absolutely 100% yes. Now, in case you doubt me, let me present you with an example. Let's say I lock you in a room where you can't get to food, right? And I just slip some water through the door to you 2 or 3 times a day so you have water. And I keep you locked in that room for 30 days and you don't eat anything. And all you get is water. And on the 30th day, I unlock the door and I let you out of that room and we put you on a scale. You think you would have lost weight? Sure you would. Absolutely you would. So it just becomes a component of time. You just have to extend the period between the times you eat longer, the crappier food you eat. Now, everybody should intermittent fast, even if you're on a ketogenic diet, and I do. The minimum I do is, the very minimum, is I go 16 hours. I'm sorry for yawning, that's rude. For some reason, when I record podcasts, I start yawning, and I haven't figured out why yet. It's a psychological thing, I suppose. So just bear with me. I'm not bored, and I'm not sleepy. So the minimum that I do on a ketogenic diet is I don't eat for 16 hours. Okay, so let's say from 6 o'clock tonight all the way till noon tomorrow, I don't eat. And my first meal of the day will be at noon, and then I have a second meal of the day at 7 or 8 or something, and then I'm done again, or whatever. I generally strive for more than that, 20 hours to 24 hours. Like here lately, I'm loving eating once a day, and that may be the way I eat the rest of my life. So basically, I'm fasting 23 hours a day, and I eat for 1 hour. So as soon as my body starts processing, and it's low carb, so there's not a lot to process. I'm not bombarding my body with sugar, so I don't need a lot of insulin response. So when I do eat, I'm evoking the minimum insulin response possible. And then I give my body 23 hours to let that insulin drop as low as possible. And I'm really enjoying eating that way. Now, so just take my example of eating low carb, a ketogenic, high fat, low carb once a day. And I'm giving my body 23 hours to fast. So insulin drops. Let's say you wanted to eat high carb. Let's say we both eat at the same time. 7 o'clock tonight, we both have dinner. I have a meal that has, 15, 16, 17 carbs in it. And you have a meal that has 190 carbs in it. You get a Big Mac, there's 3 pieces of bread in a Big Mac. You get a Big Mac, and you get a large order of fries, and you get a Coke. And so you're just slamming your body full of carbs. So first I would tell you that that's extremely unhealthy and you shouldn't do that. But if that's what you want to do, from that point on, from both of us stopping eating at the same time, what we will need to do to achieve weight loss then becomes a metric of time. But for me, the time is less to achieve the same results as you'll need to extend your time longer. So I'll go 23 hours without eating. You know what? You've slammed your body so full of carbs. You need to go 48 hours with eating. So you've ate a bunch of crap. And I would say if you're only going to eat once, you should add some more in there. Don't just have the Coke and the burger and the fries. I'd say have another burger, because I think that's only going to get you to around 12 to 1,300 calories. So you need to get it on up to around 1,800 calories, 16, 17, 1,800 calories maybe. So, have some other burger. Have a Big Mac and then throw in another burger, like a quarter pounder. Okay? So, or you don't have to. Eating less is even better. But look, you just make sure you don't get hungry, because you're going to get hungry. Because when you come off this carb thing and your insulin overreacts and tries to suppress all those carbs you've just eaten, and your body finally shoves so much insulin out there that it's finally able to deal with all those freaking carbs that you just ate. And it handles it, and then that insulin is going to drop. And when that insulin drops, you are going to be starving. You're going to be the hungriest you've ever been, because that is a function. That's why you're hungry now. That's why everybody's hungry every day. You're spiking insulin all day long. You spike it, it falls, that triggers hunger. You spike it, it falls, that triggers hunger. That's why you're starving all the time. I'm never hungry. I never get hungry. I don't want food. I sit around thinking about what I'm going to eat today with some level of pleasure. I'm like, yeah, I'm trying this. That's going to be great. But I'm never starving, though. It's not a function of me starving. And you're starving all the time. Every 2 hours, you're hungry. So that's what happens. Nevertheless, you can still do it. Now, let's say you don't want to be that extreme. Let's say you want to eat a couple of times a day. Let's say you want to go eat shrimp and French fries and something for lunch, and then for dinner you want to have pizza. So that's 2 pretty carved up meals. Fine, have them. But after dinner, you got to fast. You got to let that insulin drop. Would 24 hours help you? Well, it's better than what you're doing now. Let's just be honest. If we took it to 36, that'd be even better. If we took it to 48, that'd be better. Look, I'm not here to give you a specific set of rules, because I haven't come up with a plan of how to eat like crap and lose weight. But I'm telling you, it is possible. But it makes your weight loss tools, you limit it to one tool. And your one tool is time. When you eat / how often you eat. When, how often. That's one tool. And what you eat is the other tool. And if you want to throw the what you eat out the window, that only leaves you with the when, how often you eat, which you have to stretch it out. Now, some people are just right there on that level where it's not that much, like they're not really gaining. Like I always gained weight my whole life. There was never a month that went by that I wasn't heavier than the month before, except when I went on some kind of diet that didn't last long. A lot of people are kind of maintaining their weight for a year, 2 years, so it's not so bad that they're always gaining. They're kind of where they're at. They may pick up a pound this year or whatever, so they're pretty close to maintaining. If you're in that situation, I would say if you just went, skip breakfast first of all, take breakfast out, take any kind of drink with sugar out unless you're eating a meal, and I would say to have an even greater impact, don't have them with the meal either. The number one way people spike their insulin, which causes your body to freak out, like you shoot insulin, your insulin pumps like nobody's business. That's when you drink a sugar drink, whether it be a Coke or a Pepsi or sweet tea that grandma makes. That is liquid sugar. The uptake is so fast with that your blood literally becomes a liquid, gooey mass of sugar. That's how fast it happens. And your body sends out reinforcements. It's like calling the fire department. The insulin rushes out in massive levels to deal with this sugar that you've just directly absorbed, because there's no process of digestion involved. Unlike where you eat broccoli with sugar in it, and all that sugar is wrapped up in that fiber, and your body's got to break it down. It's got to go through this digestion process, and then it's got to figure out how to extract those molecules glucose, out of that fiber, and it's just this drip feed. You get this slow drip feed of sugar. So your body doesn't have to send out a lot of insulin. That's why broccoli don't make you fat. On the other hand, you drink a Coke, none of that happens. There's no fiber. The sugar isn't suspended or bound up in any kind of a way. It's free form, and your body just sucks it right into your bloodstream, and your body freaks out and rushes insulin out. All this lie about Cokes in moderation, Pepsi's in moderation, Dr. Pepper in moderation. Pick your drink. I'm not picking on Coke in particular. It's just everybody in the South says Coke. This lie that these beverages in moderation are healthy for you, it's just a damned lie. I'm sorry. It's just a lie. There's nothing good about pouring liquid sugar into your body. Your body isn't equipped to handle it. We weren't designed to handle it. The good Lord didn't make you that way to handle it. It is horrible. So, if you got to have them, you're trying to figure out some kind of way to hack the system so you can still drink Cokes and eat cheeseburgers and pizzas and French fries and baked potatoes and all this pastas and high carb stuff. I don't know that you're going to be as healthy as you could be, but theoretically you could lose weight, but you have to sacrifice how often you eat. That's a sacrifice. This isn't anything new, by the way. This has been out there forever. Alternate day fasting has been a thing. I remember in the 80s, I was very overweight. I was overweight from the time I was, 5 or 6 or whatever. But basically, as far back as I have memories, I know I was overweight. And so I believe it was in the 80s, early 80s or something, middle 80s, something like that. I don't know. I was either preteen or early teen. I remember the alternate day fasting thing hit really big, like it does every decade or so. It'll come back and it'll get really big. I tried it. So you eat a day and then you don't eat a day. You eat a day and you don't eat it. And it worked. It worked. Why did it work? Well, but now I understand why it worked. Like, nobody knew the science behind it then. Nobody was talking about this metabolic syndrome, this insulin resistance. Nobody was talking about that stuff. To them, it was just you went a day without eating. But that's not why it worked. It's not that you went a day without eating. Well, that was part of it. That's the calorie control part of it. But the secondary part of it was the proper metabolic process where you're not flooding the body with carbs. You allow insulin to drop. You allow your body to start burning fat stores because you are at a calorie deficit because you skipped a day. So it all works together. That was never explained. I don't even think people knew why then. They do now. You have what's called the 5-2 diet. The 5-2 diet was huge. It started, a guy wrote the book. He's a British guy, and he was investigating fasting as a way of weight loss. And there's a documentary about it on YouTube if you want to go. And then there's a book out there too, the 5-2 diet. But you eat 5 days a week and fast too. So those 2 days can be back to back, or you can spread them apart. Like you can fast on Tuesdays and Fridays or Tuesdays and Thursdays. And it allows people to have a pretty relatively normal life. But for 2 days a week, they're giving their body a break from carbs. You're giving your body a break from carbs. You're allowing insulin levels to fall. Obviously, there's a calorie reduction involved because there's 2 days where you aren't eating. All that works together. You lose weight. And it works remarkably well for some people. But again, if you go watch the documentary or read the book, you'll see they actually recommend you try to eat well. You don't eat crap, okay? You'll get a slight effect from it if you continue to eat crap, but if you'll just improve your diet a little bit, just improve it a little bit, just cut out the sodas, cut out the sweet teas, have some meals where you don't eat biscuits with it, whatever. Have the meatloaf and the, whatever you have your meatloaf. Just don't eat 2 or 3 biscuits. Just at least cut those starches and carbs out. Just make some changes. And then implement fasting into your life and into your diet and lifestyle. And it'll have a remarkable, profound effect. So what I would say is this. On a sliding scale, the more you alter your diet so that it doesn't have so much carbs and sugar in it, the less fasting you need to get amazing results. I would say the less you alter your diet so that you have high levels of carbs and sugar and crap in it, the more you're going to have to alter the frequency with which you eat, okay? Am I recommending this? No, I'm not recommending it. I'm clearly exploring it as a intellectual pursuit because I guess ask so many questions. Now, the last thing I would say is when people hear the word fasting, they think starving. Oh my God, he's starving himself. Look at him. He's starving himself. He's so unhealthy. This is a big lie. Fasting is one of the healthiest things you can do in the world. There's so many internal processes that start happening when you fast that are so healthy for you. Your growth hormone kicks in. Ketones start being produced, which is more efficient fuel for the brain and causes you to think more clearly. Autophagy happens. So your body starts scavenging and reusing materials that are in damaged cells, and then the damaged cells get flushed. There's all this new research that's probably likely helps to prevent cancer. On and on I could go with the benefits of fasting because they're vast and numerous. As a matter of fact, fasting was the human way until the Industrial Revolution. Until you could go down, 5 miles down the road from your house and buy any fruit from any place on the planet any day of the year. Fasting was a thing because food wasn't plentiful like that. Okay? Nobody was eating this food all the time. It was so much work to get food, and food was in such scarce supply. You only ate lunch and dinner. This 3 meals a day thing is crap. It's an invention from the food industry to sell you more food. One of the worst things they ever came out with, and I'm not sure if it's a recommendation or not, but it was for years for children. They need to have 3 healthy meals a day and 2 healthy snacks. The government and the FDA and the food industry, dietitians, all these people supposedly have your best health interest in mind, we're literally telling you to feed your children 5 times a day. In all of recorded human history, people have not eaten 5 times a day. It's not natural. It's highly unnatural. The natural state of the human body is to feast and fast. Feast and fast. So you eat once or twice a day. You don't drink sugary beverages the entire rest of the day in between your meals, which is eating. People don't understand that. I'll talk to people and I'll say, well, how much do you eat or how many times you eat a day? I really don't eat that much, man. I'll get a light lunch or something, and then I may have a big dinner. And I'm like, oh, okay, so you're eating a couple times a day. Tell me about your drinking. What you drink today? Well, I have, a couple cups of coffee with sugar and stuff in the morning. And then I have a Coke, and then I have Coke with lunch, and then I have, a couple Cokes in the afternoon, and then I have dinner, and then I have, coffee with sugar in it at night. Crap, you're eating all day long. Well, if you're drinking a sugary beverage, you are consuming massive amounts of calories and sugar. Do you think just because you don't have a fork in front of you and a knife in front of you that you're not eating? Eating is consuming calories. So when you're drinking stuff, you never stop. You basically are in a nonstop feeding frenzy. You are feeding from the time you wake up till the time your head finally hits the pillow at night. And some people still eat. They have stuff by their bed and they lay in bed and they're still stuffing food in their face. You can't eat all the time and lose weight. You just can't. The body ain't designed for that. The body is designed for you to eat, and then you get the hell out of the way and let it do what it needs to do to regulate things. But we never get out of the way. We never get out of the way. The only time we get out of the way is when we sleep. Most people are sleeping 8 hours or less a night. I know people that sleep 6 hours a night. I know people sleep 5 hours a night. If you're a 5 hour a night sleeper, think about that. If you're a 5 hour a night sleeper who's one of those people that wakes up drinking beverages with calories and sugar in it and then eating all day, you're in a feeding state 19 hours out of the day. There's only 5 hours of the day where you aren't cramming calories and sugar and stuff into your body. And you don't understand why you ain't losing no weight. I'm not saying this to beat up on you. I was that guy. I didn't know any better. But with knowledge comes the answer. And then it becomes your responsibility at that point. I say all the time, it's not your fault you're fat. It's not. It's absolutely not. You're fed a bunch of lies from the government, from the FDA, that stupid food pyramid that tells you the most things you should eat is bread. The bottom of the food pyramid is literally bread. That's what they want you to eat the most of. Like, what is some crazy amount? Like 7 servings of bread a day. Are you freaking kidding me, man? So, it's not your fault. You've been lied to. They told you to stop eating fat. They told you that fat was what was making you fat. I eat more fat than anybody I know, and I've lost 125 pounds. I can promise you, fat is not what's making you fat. High sugar is what's making you fat. People think that you eat fat and then your body stores it. That's not the case at all. You eat way too much sugar, your body doesn't know what to do with it, and your liver converts it to fat and stores it. What? Your body converts sugar into fat? I never heard that before. No, you haven't heard it before because everybody lies to you. So it's not your fault you're fat. Until today. Starting today, it is your fault because I've just exposed you to the truth. I've just opened your eyes to the lies. From today forward, it will be your fault that you're fat. Because you now understand how to fix it. You now understand why. You understand why your body is a fat storing machine rather than a fat burning machine. Can you eat crap and lose weight? For sure. But if you're not going to sacrifice the what, you got to sacrifice the when. Okay? Try it. If that's you, and you are bound and determined that getting healthy is not worth giving up pizza, because that's what you're saying, essentially. When you want to eat everything you're already eating now, what you're saying is, getting healthy is not worth giving up the food I eat. And that's fine if that's a decision you make, but don't complain because you can't lose weight. If your decision is that I want to keep eating what I'm eating, but I'd like to lose some weight, then in reality you really don't. Let's just be honest about it. You don't want to lose weight. You don't want to lose weight. You want to keep eating what you're eating. I made somebody mad about 4, 5, 6 weeks ago. It's been a while. Somebody, asking me similar questions, and I told them, I said, you knew before you asked me, you knew the answers to these questions before you asked them to me. There's no way you're that stupid. You're a very smart, bright person. There's no way that you could possibly ask me about continuing to eat what you're eating now and losing weight. If you could eat what you're eating now and lose weight, you wouldn't need to be asking me about how to lose weight. Okay? No, you can't keep eating the way you're eating. You just can't. Eating the way you're eating and what you're eating is why you're fat now. If you want to change your result, you got to change the actions. So we have two primary tools. That's what we eat and when or how often we eat. And if you want to eliminate the what, or even if you only want to partially eliminate the what, you got to affect the when. What's the first thing I would tell you right now? The easiest thing to do, and don't change anything. I would say make one change or make 2 changes. I told you I wasn't going to give you specific advice, but I lied. I am. Because I think it could be a stepping stone to eating the right way. So I am going to give you specific advice. Now, this is not a ketogenic diet. This is not what I do. It's not what I recommend you do. This is for stubborn people who don't want to do what they need to do and they want to try to do some kind of cheat. Okay? So here's simple steps for you to follow. First of all, you don't eat breakfast anymore. Breakfast is out. You don't eat breakfast, and you don't wake up drinking coffee with sugar in it. If you're a coffee drinker, you start drinking it without coffee. Can you put some cream in it? Yeah, but buy actual heavy whipping cream. Go to the store, go to the milk section, look for heavy whipping cream or extra heavy whipping cream, and use that. Put a tablespoon or 2 in your coffee. Don't buy that stupid creamer garbage crap. Put a little bit of that in there. You want to sweeten it with some Splenda. And I don't even recommend Splenda. I've talked about Splenda a lot, but look, you're a person that wants to be lazy, so I'm not going to talk to you about artificial sweeteners. Splenda will be way better than what you're doing now if you're currently drinking coffee and sugar. Okay? So real cream, real heavy whipping cream, and Splenda. That's your coffee. Preferably, you don't have the coffee because you're going to spike insulin. When you drink, even if you drink coffee with nothing in it, you're going to spike insulin, okay? You're not going to spike it a lot, but you're going to spike it a little, and the whole point is keep insulin down. But if you absolutely must, and clearly you must, or you wouldn't be trying to figure out ways to hack the system and cheat. So have your coffee, but make it that way. Don't eat breakfast. You don't put no food in your belly. You don't have no snack. You don't have no Coke at 9 a.m., You don't have no Dr. Pepper at 11 a.m. You don't have no kind of calories like that. It's water. You have you some coffee in the morning and you have water. Hydrate your body with water. And then you get to lunch, and lunch is your first meal of the day. So if you're an 11 o'clock lunch eater, you eat at 11. If you're a noon lunch eater, you eat at noon. That's your first meal of the day. From that point on, from the moment you stick that first bite of lunch in your mouth, you have 8 hours. The clock starts ticking. You are done eating when 8 hours is up. So if the first bite of food goes in your mouth at noon today, the last bite of food, the last calorie, whether it be food or whether it be a beverage, I don't care. Whatever kind of calorie it is, the last calorie you put in your mouth is at 8 p.m. sharp. You're done. You don't eat nothing outside of that 8-hour window. Now, what do you do inside the 8-hour window? Once you eat lunch, does that mean you just drink Cokes the rest of the day? No. You have one more meal. You have dinner. You have lunch. You have dinner. You have 2 meals. All the calories you consume come during those 2 meals, whether it be from beverages, whether it be from food, whether it be from going outside and gnawing on tree bark. I don't care. Any kind of way of getting a calorie only happens during those 2 feeding times. You eat your lunch. You eat your dinner. Well, what do I do between lunch and dinner? Well, you suck it up and you drink water. That's what you do. You stop feeding yourself 100 times a day. Stop constantly feeding yourself. We're all fat and we never understood why when we didn't stop to realize that we never stopped feeding ourselves. You can't feed something constantly and it be slim. You just can't do it. Why you sound so passionate, man? Because I am passionate. Because we've been brainwashed. We've been taught lies. Our parents didn't know how to teach us to eat right. The government didn't teach us to eat right. They didn't teach us to eat right in school. Nobody's taught us to eat right. We learned how to eat from television. We learned how to eat from watching freaking television. That's how most people learn to eat. You stupid, crappy, garbage cereal fortified with vitamins. You know why it's fortified with vitamins? Because it's crap. Cereal is like literally 90% sugar. I did a podcast about it, or a video about it. Go to my Fat Guy Podcast page and scroll through my videos. And you'll find a video that talks about how much sugar you're eating, where I prove to you conclusively, looking at cereal labels, that if you're eating cereal, 80 to 90% of what you're eating is sugar. Every spoonful you put in your mouth of cereal is a spoonful of sugar. And they tell you it's healthy because they happen to cram some iron and some vitamin A in it. Come on, man. Nobody knows how to eat. We were lied to. The TV taught us how to eat. The TV taught us you're supposed to eat freaking cereal for breakfast. The TV taught us you're supposed to drink sugary drinks in between meals as snacks. The TV taught us that you need healthy snacks every day, which aren't healthy. The TV told us you got to eat a big lunch, and the TV told us you got to eat a big dinner. TV taught us how to eat. We're all fat. Yeah, I'm passionate about it. It pisses me off. It pisses me off. It's our fault for getting our nutritional advice from TV, though. I'll just be honest. But it's not our fault that the government lied to us. The people we supposedly should be able to trust. It's not our fault that the government lied. The FDA lied. It's people come up with the stupid food pyramid lied. Your nutritionist in school lied to you. All right, guys. I hope I've helped you in some way. People ask me all the time, why do you spend so much time doing it? Because I like helping people. When people send me pictures that they lost weight, right? A lady today, she posted a photo of her wearing skinny jeans, and she tagged me in it and said, thank you for the inspiration and the information. And I don't remember what she lost, but it was a reasonable amount. I don't know, like 19, 20 pounds or something. That's why I do it. That's why I do it. If I didn't get on Facebook and podcasts and social media and do this every day, who knows? That woman may not have lost that weight. I know for a fact a lot of other people wouldn't. They did it strictly because of me talking about it. When I kick the bucket, if it's tomorrow or 20 years from now, somebody will be able to look back and go, because of that guy, I lost 25 pounds. Because of that guy, I lost 60 pounds. So I never ever do anything else good in my life. I want this to be good. Have a great day, guys. Thanks for listening to the podcast. Like me on all the social medias. Fat Guy Podcast is the username, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And I highly recommend Snapchat. You want to see what I eat every day? Add me on Snapchat, Fat Guy Podcast. Download the Spreaker app, Spreaker. If I didn't mention it earlier, it's not just me on there. There's thousands and thousands of podcasts. You ain't no telling what kind of entertainment you're going to find that you suddenly start to enjoy it. Once you get into podcasts, I did. I'm a podcast. I don't listen to radio. I don't watch very much TV. I love podcasts. If there's something you're interested in, there's a podcast about it. Download the Spreaker app. Search for Fat Guy Podcast. Follow me on there. Make me a favorite. You'll be able to see all the new episodes. Scroll down and see all the old episodes. And who knows what else you'll find. If you're a regular consumer of podcasts and use standard podcast apps, same thing. Just search for Fat Guy Podcast. Have a great day, guys. I appreciate you so much. Share this. Share this and change somebody's life.